Call the meeting of the St. Paul City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Tao, Tobert, Yang,
Here.
Jalali,
Here.
Naker,
Here.
Prince, Council President Bredmone. 4 present, 3 absent, being council members Tao, Tobert, and Bredmone, and Tao and Bredmone are excused.
Please rise if you're able and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our City Council meeting today. Just a couple of COVID-related notes for those of you who haven't been here in a little bit. First of all, we have opted as a council to continue masking up for everyone's safety and comfort. So thank you to all of you who are here masked. And we do ask that if you do come to the front to testify today, that you continue to keep your mask on even while you're speaking. There are additional masks and hand sanitizer in the council chambers if you need them. And you'll be able to hear our HEPA grade air filters running throughout the meeting just to continue to ensure people's safety while you're here. And with that, we will begin our meeting. I'll turn it over to our city clerk, Ms. Moore.
Consent agenda items 4 through 36 are before you for your consideration.
And I know that we are pulling item 31 for separate consideration. Is there any other item that needs to be taken separately? If not, Ms. Prince moves the balance of the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
4 in favor, no one opposed. The consent agenda is adopted as amended. Item 31 is Resolution 22-511, authorizing the fire department to accept the donation of 13 saunas valued at $72,800 from the St. Paul Fire Foundation.
And this item is before us. There's a version 2 in Legistar, which is the version that we'll be discussing. It's slightly amended. Actually, a very perceptive constituent of mine noticed that there was an error in the amount of the grant, so that has been corrected. And then also a slight rephrasing of exactly what the saunas are being used for and the public health benefits associated with them. And in the course of looking into this item a little bit deeper, I learned that there's a really fascinating study that our fire department is a part of that these saunas are being accepted for, and asked Dr. Zeke McKinney who's advising the St. Paul Fire Department on this to just come and quickly brief us on what specifically this grant is for, because I think it's really worthy of note. So Dr. McKinney is on Teams. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you all hear me and/or see me?
We can. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me. First of all, I do want to clarify that these saunas were not donated in order to conduct this study, though they are related. Just to give you some background, there was this sort of anecdotal information that came out about 5 or 6 years ago, where firefighters were talking about, hey, we fight fires, we're covered in soot, we take a shower, we still smell like the fire after that, and it's not till 2 or 3 days that that smell goes away. Some genius figured out, hey, I get in a sauna and all of a sudden I don't smell like a fire anymore. So, gee, maybe this sauna is detoxifying us from these compounds. As a function of that, every sauna manufacturer around has been trying to sell firefighter saunas for the last several years. And many fire departments have approached me and said, hey, should we get saunas for our firefighters to help them in this regard? And my answer is, there is an immense amount of scientific evidence about health benefits of saunas, mostly cardiovascular benefits. However, this issue of detoxification has not been studied or proven by science in any way whatsoever, at least until somewhat recently. As a function of that, the city of St. Paul and St. Paul Fire were very interested in pursuing this and provided a very small grant to study this a little bit, where we basically used a sauna that was already existing at Station 4 and had been there for several decades. It was built in, a wet sauna, sort of traditional, Northern European style. And we essentially have those firefighters along with firefighters at nearby stations who may be going to the same fires, collecting urine and sweat samples for the firefighters using the sauna, to evaluate biomarkers of a specific type of carcinogen, the primary component of soot, to see if, number one, does metabolism of that carcinogen change as a function of using the sauna? And also, can that carcinogen be detected in sweat? And so that study was set up to start collecting samples right around March 2020. And then COVID hit, and of course, with restrictions, we did not proceed with the study at that time. We recently restarted it earlier this year in 2022 and are now collecting samples to hopefully proceed forward. It's not very big. We're looking for 30 samples from both groups, the sauna and the non-sauna groups. And then the analysis of these data are being performed by Minnesota Department of Health. This study will be completely novel, as no one has looked for carcinogens in sweat in this way. There was a study from the University of Arizona from another occupational medicine physician like myself that was published in 2021, where in a training setting, not real fires, training setting where they would burn wood and pallets and things like that, they did a very similar analysis looking at differences in metabolism of these same types of carcinogens in urine, and found that there was what appeared to be a difference. They had a very small sample size, so it wasn't a statistically significant difference, but it was at least numerically evident. And so that's suggestive that we will find some difference there. Of course, from a scientific perspective, we want to make sure that, maybe these saunas are causing people's pores to open, they're absorbing carcinogens faster. That would be a bad thing. I don't think that's likely, but, of course, we just really don't know. And so the scientific method is to make a hypothesis that metabolism is in fact different and or increased as a function of using a sauna, and that's what we're attempting to study. This donation of saunas to St. Paul Fire is independent of the study, though it would allow us to certainly expand this type of research with, for example, federal funding after this initial study is done, assuming it's successful, and then also to make comparisons that people are interested in, such as, is there a difference between, quote, dry, that is infrared saunas, versus traditional wet saunas, amongst many other things. Because firefighters have an increased risk of all cancers compared to the general population, as well as very specific cancers, this is something of great interest to the fire service as a whole. But again, overall, there are well-established cardiovascular benefits of saunas. So in that regard, I certainly don't disapprove of them having them, but I would not yet purport that it does address this issue of detoxifying them from cancer-causing chemicals. Thank you.
Dr. McKinney, thank you so much for that fascinating presentation. It's great to know that our fire department is involved in something of this magnitude, and I know the wellness of our firefighters is of top importance for all of us here, and the fact that they could be of benefit through this study to many other firefighters across the country and the world is really meaningful. So thanks for taking the time. Are there any questions from my colleagues for Dr. McKinney while he's with us? If not, well, thank you for your time, and I'll take a motion from Mr. Tolbert to approve item 31. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted as amended. Item 37 is final adoption of ordinance 22-15, amending section 13.02 of the Administrative Code, establishing duties in the Department of Safety and Inspections related to rent stabilization.
This item is before us for final adoption. We've discussed it in numerous other meetings, and would welcome any discussion from my colleagues before we take a vote. Ms. Jalali.
I would just like to thank the many staff who are working very hard across the departments in the administration to make sure that we are on schedule for May 1. Thank you to so many community members who came here today to make sure that the city is taking up its part, and for your continued advocacy. I see you showing up for so many things right now in the many processes underway to make sure that we are proceeding thoughtfully and with all of the right information to implement our policy. And I just wanted to, as the sponsor of this item, thank my council colleagues who have been supportive and are united in the belief that no matter what, we know that we need to be ready on May 1st for renters and landlords and community members to have the information they need. And this specific ordinance that we're voting on is a step towards doing that by making sure that DSI can house the work and then continue coordinating with all of us. So with that, I would move approval unless there are other questions or comments.
Thank you, Ms. Jalali. Ms. Prince.
Thank you, Chair Naker. I am going to vote for this today. I don't want to. We've had 6 months since the ordinance passed in the rent stabilization ordinance became law. And we have asked repeatedly for the administration to work with us on developing, whether it's the staffing plan, having some input on implementation rules. And now here we are again getting a finished product that I don't feel is particularly defensible. I think it's going to be very difficult to staff this huge new operation for the city with 2 people. The qualifications of those 2 people is going to have to be really unique for them to be dealing with the level of analysis that they will need to do on a 22-page application for a waiver. We have 17 pages of rules that are extremely dense. I have a law degree, but it is really tough to work through those implementation rules. So I am voting yes today because the program has to be implemented on May 1st. And I know that this council will take a hard look at what we are passing and if we need to make modifications to it. I was very grateful to Council Member Jalali for calling me and saying, you know, it's not perfect. We can continue to adapt it and make it better. So on that basis, I will vote yes.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. Ms. Yang.
Thank you. I am in full support of this and ready for us to pass it. Just wanted to say thanks to all of the staff and especially community members who came to testify over and over in support of this as well.
Thanks, Ms. Yang. And I will also say I'm looking forward to voting in favor of this. I agree with Ms. Prince's comments about the frustration about how long it has taken to get to this point. And we know we need to give a department the authority to implement and enforce this ordinance. And that is what we're doing today. And that's the way to make this real. So if there are no other comments or questions from my colleagues, Ms. Jalali moves approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The ordinance is adopted. Item 38 is first reading of ordinance 22-17, granting the application of NIMCO Limited to rezone property at 597 7th Street East from I-1 Light Industrial to T2 Traditional Neighborhood and amending Chapter 60 of the Legislative Code pertaining to the zoning map.
And I believe we do have a staff report on this item. Welcome, Mr. Dermody.
Thank you, Council Member Naker, Council members. This is what seems to be a straightforward rezoning, but I anticipate some interesting testimony during the public hearing next week, and so definitely want to give you a little background on this. So I don't know if you can see it, but well, I'll verbally describe it. If you can't see it below, we may not have the camera working.
Do you have it up there, Mr. Dermody?
I have a map I was going to show you, but I'll verbally describe it instead if it's not showing up.
I think media services, if we wave the magic wand, can focus on it.
Give them a second.
Sometimes it takes a minute.
Okay, I'll just carry on then. This is the northeast corner of Payne and East 7th. On the east side, this is the State Supply Building many of you are familiar with, right on that corner. The application is to rezone that property from I-1 to T2. This is just a question of whether to rezone the zoning classifications. And Planning Commission and staff recommend approval of this request. Just north of the site is another one that was rezoned similarly last year from I-1 to T2 to allow Johnny Opara to do an affordable housing development. Similar to that one, this one is appropriate for the area. The comprehensive plan designates this as an urban neighborhood, and the intersection here as being a neighborhood node, and this sort of intensification that T2 zoning, traditional neighborhood zoning represents is an excellent implementation of the comprehensive plan. The twist to make you aware of is The district council, the Payne-Phelan Community Council, is recommending denial of this. That's different than what Planning Commission and staff have recommended, and that's based on the use itself. So the planned use here is a daycare. They are going to use the existing building, and because they're not planning to expand the building or build onto it in any way, there's no site plan review that's required. And so there is no public forum of any kind to talk about the use, and so that's why they have made comments on the record and come out in opposition to the rezoning, because that is the forum that they have for these concerns. They have concerns about the building design, about how traffic is going to work close to this intersection and that sort of thing. But, you know, as Planning Commission and staff are looking at that's not the question. We have our rules for how that use needs to be implemented, and as long as they follow the rules, they can go in. The question before the City Council is whether to rezone to T2 traditional neighborhood, and our recommendation is for approval on that request. So I'd be glad to take any questions that you may have.
Thanks, Mr. Dermody. Are there any questions for Mr. Dermody? Ms. Prince.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Dermody. And I'm aware of those concerns of D5. And to some extent, I really can understand their concern. I think this is something that this council has been up against before, where we're asked to make a determination on a rezoning, and clearly the T2 rezone is a reasonable one for that area, and it extends up Payne Avenue for some distance. Do we have any, I mean, your point was that we have to vote on this as rezoning, and we cannot and should not be considering the use. Is that right?
The application is not for the use. The application is only for the rezoning.
Right. Thank you. And we have time. This is just the first reading, but clarifying that, I think, will help this council because it frequently comes up.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. Any other questions for Mr. Dermody? And again, this is just first reading. We'll have public hearing next week. All right. Thank you so much.
Item 39 is a public hearing of ordinance 22-14, creating Chapter 134A of the Legislative Code pertaining to small wireless facilities.
And before we hold the public hearing on this item, there is a slightly amended version 2, which I will move, and I'd like to call for a vote on that before the public hearing so we can be voting on the new version. So I would move version 2 in Legistar. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The amendment is approved.
And this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert will move to close the public hearing and lay this over because of the amendments for final adoption next week. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the ordinance is laid over to April 13th for final adoption. Item 40 is public hearing of ordinance 22-16, amending Chapter 193A of the Legislative Code to define certain terms contained therein and ensure consistency of language used throughout. And the public hearing is continued from March 23rd.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none. Oh, I'm so sorry. We have someone remote, so we will go, if there's no one in person, we'll go to the phones.
Thank you, Vice President, Council Vice President Naker. We do have one caller on the line. We have Ms. Birdie Brown, who will be testifying for ordinance 22-16, amending Chapter 193A of Legislative Code. Ms. Birdie, can you press *6 to unmute yourself and testify? You'll have 2 minutes for your testimony.
Hello, councilors. My name is Ms. Birdie Brown. I would like to
We are
testify
hearing,
on-
I'm sorry, we're having some trouble hearing you. I don't know if there's something we can do to boost the sound.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, much better.
Okay, my name is Birdie Brown. I'm My name is Birdie Brown, and I was calling. I'm testifying for 2215 2216, chapter 194. 19A, and I think that the rental thing needs to have good record keeping, because I went and did research on the record keeping, and the landlords need to have affordable housing for the people, because no matter what race, everyone need a place to stay, and the ordinance should be moved to June of 2022.
Thank you so much.
And I'm Miss Birdie.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else on the phones?
Thank you, Vice President Naker. We do not have any additional callers on the line.
All right, thank you so much. I will take a motion from Ms. Yang to close the public hearing and lay the matter over and adopt. And we can adopt today.
Vote now.
That's right. To lay the matter, to close the public hearing and adopt. All in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Jalali.
I was going to speak briefly to this one too.
Please.
Okay. We have this is another rent stabilization implementation item for folks who've been following along or who haven't. This ordinance that we're going to adopt today defines important terms that are contained within the policy passed by voters, make sure that language is consistent. I appreciate the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago where we passed a simpler definition of rent that is still comprehensive and makes sure that renters can be protected as much as possible against arbitrary fees or other workarounds that people may use to get around the 3% cap. And also, as we've been saying with all things related to rent stabilization, what we're doing here is important. It's a starting point. We may learn things. We may find better ways to support the folks that are impacted by this. But I think it's really important that we have a strong starting point, and I feel glad that we could advance this language today and had plenty of time to hear from the public about it. Been reading the emails and comments that we've heard from here and around the table. So I will also be motioning and supporting the motion to approve this item, but wanted to say thank you again to folks who've come out and have been observing this process very closely. Every time I see people in the chambers who are here because they care about renters and rent stabilization, I also know that it's 1/100th or 1/1000th of the folks who are unable to be here in person but care. And so I want to just thank you again for being here. And to everyone who wasn't but has participated in this process. And with that, I would just motion to approve this as well and keep this moving forward.
Thanks, Ms. Jalali. Any further discussion on the motion? Ms. Prince.
Again, I will vote for this today because of the May 1st deadline. I remain concerned about some of the language in this, and I will continue to talk to people about whether or not we need to refine this at all. But I am going to vote for it today for that May 1st implementation start.
Thanks, Ms. Prince. Any other comments? Just before we vote, to thank our caller today and to point out, I really appreciate the point that was raised about record keeping on the part of landlords, and that reminds me that we should remind folks that our Department of Safety and Inspections has put out proposed rules for implementing the ordinance, which includes paperwork and process for requesting an exception, and public comment on that is going to start to be accepted tomorrow, April 7th. So we really encourage folks to give feedback on that as well, because those are the details of how this ordinance is going to take shape. So we appreciate everyone being here today and hope folks will continue to weigh in on that process as well. Ms.
And
Prince.
Ms. Naker, if I could just clarify, that is online input only, right? Or you can phone in or send emails.
I believe it's written comments to the inbox. You can basically submit written.
So it's written comments only. There isn't going to be a hearing on that.
Right. My understanding is it won't come back to the council, but it's feedback going directly to the Department of Safety and Inspections. And Ms. Wiese is here if anything I'm saying is incorrect. Everything is correct. Okay. And I know that's all online, and we all have the links, and I think are promoting it on our various networks as well. All right, so with that, we have a motion on the table to close the public hearing and adopt. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the ordinance is adopted. Item 41 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-58, accepting a 2022 Byrne Justice Assistance Criminal and Juvenile Justice Intervention Grant from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Office of Justice Programs in the amount of $257,050 for the city's ETHOS program and amending the 2022 spending and financing budget for the city attorney's office.
And our city attorney is letting me know that this is definitely the winner for the longest title of the evening award. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert moves to close the public hearing and approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 42 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-56, amending the financing and spending plans in the Department of Parks and Recreation in the amount of $92,630 to reflect additional 2022 funding from Como Friends.
I know that we do have someone calling in to testify on this item, but before that, is there anyone here in chambers who wishes to testify on this item? Seeing none, we will go to the phones.
Thank you, Vice President, Council President Naker, and Council. We currently have one testifier for line 42, Resolution Public Hearing 22-56. Ms. Birdie, can I have your
ma'am.
press start? Oh, you're already unmuted. You'll have 2 minutes to testify. Thank you.
For the park district and the rec center, 92,000. I don't think that's enough funding. I was just thinking that price was probably for the 2020 and the 2021 because it's going to be much more families and friends out there, and we need to make sure our public is safe, and we want to make sure we have modern citizens there. So we're going to need a lot of police patrols and everything else to make sure everyone is safe in our park district and our recreational center, because it's going to be more people out there due to the masks are lifted.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else on the line?
Thank you. Council President Naker, we have no other testifiers for this item. Thank you.
And thank you again for testifying. And this is this is reflecting additional funding from Como Friends, which is generous. I appreciate the point about the need for additional security as well at the same time. So with that, Ms. Jalali will move to close the public hearing and approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 43 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-59, amending the financing and spending plans of the Department of Emergency Management for the 2021 Urban Area Security Initiative Grant for $829,500.
This is a public hearing, and I know again we have someone on the phone to testify, but is there anyone here in the chamber who'd like to testify on this item? Seeing none, we will go to the phones.
Thank you again, Vice Council President Naker and Council. We do have one testifier for line 40, Resolution Public Hearing 22-56. Ms. Birdie, you will have 2 minutes to testify.
I just want to say with the emergency funds and in the urban community, we also going to be needing that extra security to make sure every family and friends are safe. But we also need good record keeping to make sure the grant is being spent properly. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you again for your testimony.
Thank you, Ms. Birdie. And Vice Council President Naker and Council, there are no more testifiers. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thanks again for the testimony on our items today. With that, Ms. Prince will move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 44 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-60, approving the application of Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, Inc. for a sound level variance in order to present amplified sound on May 22nd at 75 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Minnesota State Capitol.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, I will move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 45 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-62, approving the petition of Kevin Vu to vacate the north-south alley in Block 4, the Strand Addition.
This item is going to need to be laid over, and we're going to need to continue the public hearing, but we did notice it. So is there anyone here to testify on this item today? Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert will move to continue the public hearing and lay the matter over till May 4th. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is continued to May 4th. Item 46 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-65, amending the 2022 OFS Real Estate Operating Budget to accept payment from the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources for city real estate services and for compensation to the Canadian Pacific Soo Line Railroad for a permanent easement for the Gateway Trail project.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Yang moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 47, Resolution Public Hearing 22-63, approving the application of Twin Cities Jazz Festival for a sound level variance in order to present live amplified sound on June 24th and 25th at 221 5th Street East, Mears Park.
I am pretty excited about this one. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, I will move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 48, Resolution Public Hearing 22-64, approving the application of McAllister College for a sound level variance in order to present amplified sound on May 13th to the 15th at 179 Snelling Avenue South, McAllister Stadium.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 49 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-66, amending the financing and spending plans in the fire department in the amount of $1,600 for a grant received from the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce for health and wellness equipment for firefighters at Fire Station 17.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Jalali moves to close the public hearing and approve. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 50 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-67, amending the financing and spending plans in the fire department in the amount of $1,600 for a grant received from the St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce for health and wellness equipment for firefighters at training.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Prince moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 51 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-68, approving the applications of the Minnesota United FC for sound level variance applications in order to present amplified sound on April 16th and the 23rd within the street and beer garden area at Allianz Field, 400 Snelling Avenue North.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Jalali moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 52 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-69, approving the application of Eclectic Culinary Concepts, Inc., doing business as Pareto, for a sound level variance in order to present amplified sound on May 7th at 605 7th Street West, Perrito.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, I will move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 53 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-71, ratifying the assessments for replacement of lead water service line on private properties during October to December 2021.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Please come on up. Come on up. Please come on up to the microphones. Welcome. If you could just come right over to the two microphones right over here. And if you can just say your name and where you live, and then you'll have 2 minutes to testify.
My name is Chi Shong. I live at 842 James.
Please go ahead.
I can't come here because I think that's not right for me. Lab replacement is, they made me to do it. And then I know that 10, 19, Edgerton, and they do the same thing what I did, and they don't pay nothing. Why Simple Water made me pay that much? So my meter is more than 20 feet inside my yard. So why they made me pay that much? So that's not right for me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, do you wish to testify as well?
No, that's all.
Okay. Will you please sign in just on that tablet right there? And ma'am, to clarify, you said your address is 1019 Edgerton?
That was the address.
Is there anyone else here to testify on this item? Okay, I will move to close the public hearing, and then we will discuss. Oh, Mr. Tolbert?
No.
The item we just heard. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Public hearing is closed. Mr. Tolbert?
Yeah, I just want to, sorry, I know I don't speak loud enough with my mask on. I just want to disclose on here that I am on this assessment list. It's putting an assessment on me, so I don't need to recuse myself, but just, or putting an assessment on the property that I own. But
Okay.
I just want people to be aware that I'm on this list for lead water replacement.
Thank you, Mr. Tolbert. So I think what would be best would be to remove the address of the testifier who we heard today, so we can look into that address a little bit more specifically and approve the rest of the assessment roll. I did not hear the address accurately. Ms. House, do we have that on the sign-in? Okay. Can you tell us which one that is? Because we need to amend it out of the assessment roll.
Can I clarify? This is private lead water replacement with with the option to assess ourselves, and this likely will be one of the last years we do this with the new lead water replacement program. But I just want to clarify that that's what they're here to testify on, that they got the private lead water work done and chose to assess it onto their property, and they're objecting to that because this is not a traditional assessment, is my understanding. I don't know if anybody is here from or on the teams from real estate services or water.
Thanks, Mr. Tolbert. I think the challenge is we don't have anyone here from real estate or water currently, and I think since our guests took time to come down and testify, and it wasn't entirely clear to me what the nature of the challenge was, I would like to at least take some time to delve into that a little bit more. But I I agree that is the nature of this assessment. Ms. House, do we?
Yeah, so Council President, council members, the address is 842 Jenks Avenue, Jenks.
842 Jenks Avenue. So we move to strike that one? Okay, so Mr. Tolbert would move to amend the assessment roll to remove 842 Jenks and then move approval of the remainder of the assessment roll, period. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Yang?
Does it come back next week for a vote then?
Maybe
2 weeks? Oh, okay.
because of the agenda.
Right. Right.
All right. I believe it's an address in my ward.
I was-
So, yeah.
I was going to say, in the meantime, I think we can follow up with the appropriate council office to make sure that they're able to follow up with the
Okay.
constituent. Thanks for asking that. Okay, any other discussion on that motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted as amended, removing 842 Jenks Avenue for separate consideration in the future. Item 54 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-72, ratifying the assessments for repair of sanitary sewer line on private properties during October to December 2021.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Prince would move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 55 is a resolution public hearing 22-73, ratifying the assessments for replacement of lead water service line on private property during July to September 2021 at 1157 Ashland Avenue.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Lally moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 56 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-74, ratifying the assessments for replacement of lead water service line on private property during January to March 2021 at 2238 Dayton Avenue.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Prince moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 57 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-75, ratifying the assessments for replacement of lead water service line on private property during April to June 2021 at 605 Bay Street.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Yang moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 58 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-81, amending the financing and spending plans in the fire department for $7,743.04 for the reimbursement for the Minnesota Firefighter Initiative for 2 firefighters to attend the National Firefighter Cancer Symposium in Miami, Florida, February 23rd to the 26th.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert moves to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted. Item 59 is Resolution Public Hearing 22-82, authorizing the police department to amend the 2022 special fund budget to add the 2021 COPS LEMHWA grant.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this item? Seeing none, I will move to close the public hearing and approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearing is closed and the resolution is adopted.
Ms. Prince moves suspension of the rules. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Rules are suspended.
Resolution 22-523, expanding the membership of the Audit Committee's advisory group to include a 4th community advisor and approving the appointments of Dana M. DeMaster, Stephanie D. Dealworth, Dilworth, and James Farnsworth as community advisors to the audit committee and as non-voting members for a term of 3 years.
Ms. Prince?
Yes, this is a tremendous addition to our effort as an audit committee. When we put the notice out for interested people to apply, we received, I don't remember the number, but a lot of highly capable, qualified applications, and we were able to increase our advisory group with the addition of these 3 outstanding candidates. So I would move approval.
And I would echo my co-chair's comments. It was great to see such high caliber applicants and so much interest in the committee. And we're really looking forward to working with these 3. Any other discussion on the item? And thanks to my colleagues for being willing to bring this in under suspension. There was just a slight snafu with it not getting in on time. So, all right. With that, Ms. Prince moves approval. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted. Legislative hearing consent agenda items 60 through 83 are before you for your consideration.
Welcome, Ms. Mormont.
Vice President Naker, council members, thank you. There are 2 items where I believe people are here to testify. The first item is number 64, and the second item is number 71.
Item 64, RLH RR 22-1, making finding on the appealed substantial abatement ordered for 318 Edmond Avenue in Council File RLH RR 21-11, and the public hearing was continued from March 23rd.
Ms. Mormont.
On March 23rd, the council heard my testimony that I am recommending that time not be granted unless the work plan is completed and an additional $5,000 performance deposit be posted. This project was less than 50% complete at the 6-month mark. In those situations, Chapter 33 allows that the council could forfeit the performance deposit and require $10,000, but I am asking the council to do something much simpler and tamer than that, which is simply to continue the existing $5,000 performance deposit, not forfeit it, and ask for an additional $5,000 to be posted. We have received additional information work plan-wise. While it's not great, it's something. And we have received a little bit more financial information. Again, while it's not great, it's something. The property owner's mother is present today, and the performance deposit, the additional performance deposit that I recommended be posted has not been posted. I would note that the account information that was provided more than covers the bids that were provided, and that there appears to be sufficient funds in that account to pay for the performance deposit, but that the account is in the name of the son and owner. Ms. Aishwin T. is the person who will be testifying this afternoon.
Thanks, Ms. Mormon. Just a quick question. So both $5,000 performance bonds would be returned on completion of the project by what date? How much time are we giving?
If the project is completed within the time granted by the City Council, which I would ask that you grant another 180 days, then yes, both performance deposits, a total of $10,000, would be returned.
Thanks, Ms. Mormon. Any other questions for Ms. Mormon? All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify? Please come on up. Welcome.
Okay.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, just before you begin, could you move over just there? Perfect, in between the 2 microphones. Thank you.
Ms. Merman has said that we put 5,000 more, but my son, he had no job, he had no work right now. We asking only the 5,000. And I have another problem with my house, that I had post 10,000 and only refund back 5,000. I want to contest that because Ms. Mormon has said the same thing. When the work is done, it will be give me 5,000. Anyway, I left from my house at 657 Sherburne. that I live in my house and they come to condemn my house only 3 days to put to the city council to condemn my house. That I know that illegal. You cannot condemn the house when they have heat, water, electric. And I had no letter that said to me that people complain. And I asking who complain. They cannot let me know who complain. I know the complaint is a tour guide that he worked for me to roofing for my garage, and he want me to pay him cash. I said, I cannot you pay cash because more than $1,000. If $50, $100, $200, I pay cash. He said he cannot take the money. He will give me a hard time. And that time, I don't know.
If I may, to save time for Ms. T's testimony.
Sure.
657 Sherburne is another property that she owned. The council heard a remover repair case on it, had a making finding determination where there was hardly any progress at all, forfeited the original performance deposit, required a second $5,000 performance deposit. And on the third time that the council heard that case, the property had been rehabilitated. A completely separate case that is not in front of you now. Because she's been addressing that one, I don't know if you want to credit back a few seconds of time, but that isn't what's in front of you right now.
Sure. We'll give another 30 seconds of time, and let's stay on 318
appeal
Edmund.
from that later on? Because I keep asking if I need to pay $25 and get in to see you. No answer. Because that's not right to condemn my house about that. This one, that's about my house and put me go to hell for the past how many years? Nothing. That illegal. What means the moment do all illegal? I only begging, asking. How you live in the house and they do that? If you want, listen to me, I talk because everything is not right. I go to hell. My dog, 3 dogs, come back, die too. My family lives. I do nothing wrong. I stay in my house, and that inspector need to rip his job out. That the principal said, evil only 1 or 2. You cannot allow evil to the citizen people that work. No, do nothing harm. Stay in the house, and my house already take it out, throw out the furniture, everything, because I got mad with my son. Throw from the furniture, everything. I give one of my friend live there and watching. I take care of my sister, and suddenly 3 days, not even 1 month, she condemned my house.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I am going to have to stop you there. We're over time.
Yes, thank you. I like separate. I want to see you next time because
thank you.
This is not right.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Is there anyone else here to testify on this issue? Seeing none, I will move to close the public hearing. So, ma'am, you can take a seat. Thank you so much. All in favor of my motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries, and the public hearing is closed. I appreciate you coming down. I believe that what the legislative hearing officer...
Can I say one more?
No, I'm so sorry. We've closed the public hearing. Thank you, though. What the legislative hearing officer is recommending is reasonable. It is just a way of making sure that the work gets complete. It is something that we require as a standard on many projects. And again, I think it's important to note that we're not forfeiting any of the money that's been paid because of the progress that's been made. I did have a chance to check in with Councilmember Tao, who's your council member whose ward this is in, and he also wished for us to handle the matter today rather than laying it over again, and supported the legislative hearing officer's recommendation as well. So I would move the recommendation of the legislative hearing officer. Is there any discussion on that motion? Ms. Prince.
Ms. Mormon, I'm just wondering, in the case of the 180-day extension, which sounds like it will be adequate to make the repairs, but if the $5,000 isn't available to make the deposit, do we have any workaround on that?
Councilmember Prince? I have an account statement here that indicates there's $14,000 at a minimum available, and there's an affidavit saying that it will be dedicated for this project. The bids that I have maximum would be $10,000 for the work, so there's at least $4,000 available in that account to pay that would be returnable. It is the choice of the appellant to not use those funds, or actually her son, to not apply those funds for this purpose. So I'm at a loss really on what to do with this. If the council wishes to reconsider next week, if by some miracle this does get taken care of, which would be great, the council could recall the resolution. But as it stands, I think the message is clear.
Thank you, Ms. Mormon.
Thanks, Ms. Prince. Any other discussion on the motion? Ms. Yang? Oh, sorry. Okay, seeing none, seeing things. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The resolution is adopted as amended. Item 71 is RLH TA 22-86, ratifying the appealed special tax assessment for property at 1446 Rice Street.
Ms. Mormon.
Vice President Naker, council members, this is an assessment for a vacant building registration fee. The time period that this assessment covers is July 16th of 21 through July 15th of 22. So we are at this point 9 months into that 12-month year. When it reaches 9 months, I would normally say, no, the full assessment should be paid. In this particular case, given COVID, I recommended, if the project has its certificate of code compliance issued today, that I would recommend prorating the fee down to 3/4 of the year. That did not happen. There are open permits for mechanical, warm air, electrical, plumbing, and building. It is not complete, and therefore I'm recommending approval of the entire vacant building assessment, and I can answer any questions.
Ms. Mormon, if the entire project is complete 10 months in, do we prorate at that point, or is it the 9 months is kind of the last chance for some sort of prorating?
In one or two cases, perhaps since COVID, I've made a recommendation for prorating this late in the process because of COVID. It has never been my practice before COVID to recommend any proration when it's more than 6 months into the year. So after 6 months, I would say pay the entire year. That's my standard recommendation. COVID considerations saying, okay, we'll squeeze it in somehow to do a little bit less. But this, again, we're well into the year and we have a lot of open permits. So,
just one other question before opening it up to my colleagues. The notice that you gave the appellant to have that certificate of code compliance done by today was given how long ago?
The original legislative hearing that I conducted on this case was March 1st of 22.
So the appellant...
And that was following, I should say, there had been fee waivers in place. So originally there was a 90-day fee waiver in 2019 because of a fire. Another 90-day fee waiver was put into place right after that. In August of 21, I recommended that you give a 90-day fee waiver, so you've already given that fee waiver, and this is coming forward after that. So there's been consideration in past vacant building fees and a waiver in this particular vacant building fee as well.
So there's been no fee paid yet for the vacancy for the 9 months?
Not this time. That's what's in front of you now, is to ratify that assessment, reduce it, whatever your
Thanks, Ms. Mormon.
inclination is.
Any other questions for Ms. Mormon before we open the public hearing? All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here to testify on this matter? Come on up, sir. Welcome.
Council members, hello. My name is Wissam Sambal. I own the property at 1446. I purchased the property in November of 2020. And when I purchased the property, I started hiring people to start working on the property. Unfortunately, COVID hit. We had a lot of delays. We had people that couldn't show up. We've been working through this process ever since then. We've had a few delays due to the city inspectors. 4 different times where the city inspectors have told us something, we do it, they come back out, they say, nope, we want it in a different way. 2 different times we had to change our plans because of different code changes. So we've been sucking in all these prices, all these costs on our dime, on my dime, because the city has not done their job, and we've been delayed. As of this week, I'm supposed to have my final inspection for electricity. As of next week, we're supposed to get our finals for the water and for the gas lines. Quite frankly, this tax, I don't even understand why the vacant tax is for. I'm working day in, day out. We have people working in the property every single day. The building, while it might be vacant, but we have people working in there. We've been paying our taxes, our dues, so I'm requesting that this be waived as we've been working through this, and the fault is not all on my shoulder.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here to testify on this matter? Seeing none, Ms. Jalali will move to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Ms. Mormon, do we have any information on the claim about the delays in inspections causing the work to be delayed?
I can explore that. These permits have been around for a while, and I know that the workload is less at the Department of Safety and Inspections right now, so I don't know the specifics of these. If I would emphasize that I don't think that it would be the case that all of the trades permits would be similarly affected and all of the trades permits are open.
Sir, can you just, one more question for you and then open to my colleagues' questions as well. Can you just say again when you expect to have all of your inspections complete at this point?
I'm pushing really hard that the upper units be done by end of this month, where we have fully everything complete and done. I'm pushing really hard for for the restaurant area to be done within the May time, and hopefully sooner than that. But we're at the very last bit end of it.
And Ms. Mormon, sorry to keep bouncing back and forth, but your recommendation originally had been that if the work were completed by today, you would have prorated the fee?
Recommend that the council prorate the assessment, so make it 3/4 of what it otherwise would have been, because it would be 3/4 of the year in the program. I believe that the appellant would like it completely removed and not prorated at all. So,
thank you. Looking to my colleagues to see if there are any questions. I have a suggestion to put out there, but want to see if others have other ideas first. No? Sorry, sir, we've closed the public hearing. Thank you, though. So my motion would be to essentially take Ms. Mormon's recommendation, but extend it for 4 weeks. So to give the appellant 4 more weeks to complete this work. If the work is completed at that point, to prorate the amount to the amount of time that it has been at that point, which would be slightly more than 3/4 of the year, but not charge the entire year. Sir, the reason for the vacant building fee is because we do, first of all, want to get buildings filled and discourage them from staying vacant, and also because we do have city services that are applied to buildings that are vacant, where we go out and we make sure that they're being maintained, we make sure they're being secured, and that costs money, and that's been taking place over this entire year. So I understand that the work has been delayed and that it's almost done, and I think we can give you another 4 weeks to see if we can cut down that fee. But yes, ma'am.
if I may, I would ask that the council continue the public hearing to May 4th so that you are not ratifying an assessment that you would later prorate, that it's just a clean single vote when you take it.
So the motion would be to continue the public hearing to May 4th.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mormon. Any discussion on that motion? Ms. Yang.
I would support the extending the public hearing to May 4th. I was wondering if we got any input from Council President Bredmon about this either. If anyone checked in with her about it prior to.
Thanks, Ms. Yang. I did not get any input, and that would be another advantage to not taking the final vote today. I don't know if Ms. Mormon has had conversations with the Council President about this matter or not. Conversations may have been had. Okay.
I'm sure the ward office could follow up.
Yeah. But this would give time for Council President Bredmon to be back and to be able to consider this item as well. Okay. So the motion is to lay the matter over till May 4th. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, none opposed. The ordinance is or the public hearing is actually reopened and continue to May 4th.
Do we need to move the balance of the consent? Mr. Tolbert moves the balance of the consent. Oh, we will now have a public hearing on all of the remaining items on the legislative hearing consent agenda. Is there anyone here to testify on any of these items? Seeing none, Mr. Tolbert moves the balance of the legislative hearing agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
5 in favor, no one opposed. The public hearings are closed and the consent agenda is adopted as amended.
And that brings us to the end of our agenda. Any good news from the wards? Everyone is tired. Ms. Prince.
One thing I will get into the mix, it's a few weeks off, so we can talk about it in future weeks, but the parks cleanup is set for Saturday morning, April 23rd, which is also the day of all the library open houses. So as city council members, we can be cleaning up the parks starting at whatever it is, 8:30 or 9, and then just continue on through 5 o'clock at our library open houses. So it's more announcements as those events draw closer.
Thank you, Ms. Prince. It's always great when you can spend your entire day engaged in different aspects of city life. So thank you for that. Any other news from the wards? I was reminded by our council director to announce the great news that Sasha Codden and Kathy Lantry have been appointed and have agreed to be our co-chairs of our police chief selection committee. So we just made that announcement to the press, and it's exciting to have two such qualified co-chairs. So looking forward to their leadership. Ms.
And
Prince.
if I could just ask, that was our appointment.
Yes, our appointment.
It was the city council's appointment. So,
Yes.
Yeah, that's very good. A great team.
All right. If there is nothing else to come before us, we are adjourned.